Final commenter is Charles Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, Charles.
Am I on?
Red button.
Now I'm on. No?
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on the same topic, the Delta Plan implementation strategy, and maybe offer some suggestions on moving it forward. First, just to, as you know, the Delta Vision Foundation and even back to the Delta Vision Strategic Plan has been built on the concept of linked actions, and we have suggested in several comments on the Delta Plan that a key role for the Stewardship Council is to advance those linked actions as the Delta Plan and more specifically as this year as the Delta Plan is completed. And BDCP is going through its evaluation, is looking at how do you start to bring those things together, and what are the linked actions that we need to tie together, and how do we tie those together? And there isn't currently a forum to do that. And I would suggest that the implementation committee is the forum and should start now, because we're getting the pieces on the table now. And I thought Les talked about this from the state board's actions as well. As they're looking at things that need to be tied into their actions, and I certainly would hope that we now have some dialogue between the Stewardship Council and the state board to develop that list. So those three components, the Delta Plan, the BDCP, and the state board actions, are all identifying things that are critical for getting the Delta fixed. And getting agreements in place that allow them all to move forward in the best way. So I think that's overall a really critical function, and I think you folks have to play a lead role in drawing those out and creating the forum to have those conversations. In general, I'll support the concept of the work groups. I think that's a really critical place to get work done. Bringing the people together, and that's the scientists, it's the stakeholders, the people who are affected by particular things. I think that's a really important way to do it, particularly given that the capacity of the state agencies is stretched to the limit. I think you're going to actually have to go further with the work groups and draw on expertise and resources. It's not just giving access to local agencies or water districts or whoever's interested. You're going to actually need them to do work to get these work groups to really function. The last thing I wanted to talk about was just sort of the overall tone of the strategy laid out here, and maybe give you a suggestion on heading that in a little different direction. Just reading the strategy through a couple of times, it's hard to disagree with any of it. It's sort of process oriented. It summarizes what you have to do. I would suggest that it is not particularly action oriented, and this is where I would disagree with Alf. Alf suggested it's all about planning, and I think that's the problem we've had in the past. That it was all about planning, and we've gotten good at planning, but this is about action, and I think you can develop a strategy that is more action oriented. And my suggestion is that you think of yourselves, the 7 council members, as the microcosm of the challenge here. And that is, how do you get leadership and direction out of a group of 7 that drives action? So you all agree, but provide the kind of leadership that you might get out of a single czar in charge of things. How do you do that effectively? And I think that's where I would start, is take the 5 or 6 actions that the Delta Plan identifies for you to do and direct staff to, in 90 days, to put them on a schedule, get a work plan done, identify the clear outcomes, identify the teams that are going to work on it, the resources that are going to get them done. So you, as a group, set that kind of direction, set that expectation for your own activities. And in that, you'll learn how to do it with others. So it's more of the kind of Practice what you want to preach. And you have 6 or 7 things on your own to-do list that need a real strong implementation approach. And I think that would set the right kind of tone to then engage some of the other agencies, particularly those that are already on that program. I think the State Board is an example of that they have a strategic plan that they're working through. But show the way is the best way to approach it. Thank you.
Charles, thanks for those comments. I think that we've nearly reached the end of our agenda. A motion would be in order to adjourn to closed session.
So moved.
Moved. Seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. Angela, we'll follow you.
Turn the heat on. Yeah, it's going to get warm all of a sudden.